A kind police officer rushes a pregnant woman in labor on the street to the hospital and remains by her side throughout the delivery. But right after the baby is born, he learns something unexpected and ends up fathering the child. When couples plan babies, they have to be mindful of a lot of things. Nothing beats the joy of parenthood, but we can't ignore the fact that the child deserves a happy life as well. We all agree on this, don't we? Sadly, many new parents don't, and in their joy of welcoming a baby, they fail to see what lies ahead. That's precisely what happened with a new mom named Carolyn, who went into labor on a random street. Since the day started for Carolyn, she wasn't feeling particularly well. She lived with her boyfriend Jacob in New York City and worked as a software engineer. She and her boyfriend were over the moon when they found out they were going to be parents. Life was perfect, Carolyn thought, but one day it all changed. It was a moderately sunny morning and Officer Santos was on his way to the police station. In a rush to be at work on time, he'd missed his morning meal, so he decided to grab a quick breakfast before heading to the station and turned his car in the direction of his favorite food joint. Once there, he got the order packed and returned to the car, immediately taking a satisfying bite of the breakfast, unable to resist the temptation. Jesus, the staff here deserves a raise. This has got to be the best bagel I've ever had in my life, he cried in satisfaction, furrowing his brow. After devouring the bagel, Officer Santos grabbed the wheel again and decided to drink the coffee at work. Leaving the fast food joint, he took a shortcut to reach the station, but suddenly he noticed something and pulled over. What's going on there, he wondered. Officer Santos observed a large crowd gathered around the street corner and instantly got out of his car and rushed over to investigate. As he pushed his way past the crowds of people to the curb, he noticed a woman crying miserably in pain. Have the paramedics arrived yet? She needs to get to the hospital as quickly as possible. She's in labor, a woman cried, and Officer Santos realized what had happened. The woman was having painful contractions and needed to be taken to the hospital right away. Officer Santos was late for work, but after seeing the woman's condition, he couldn't think about anything but helping her. Not wasting another minute, he made up his mind. He decided to carry the woman in his car instead of waiting for the ambulance and asked others for help. "Lift her and get her in my car. I know a shorter route to the city hospital," he suggested, and a few people jumped in to aid him. Together, they lifted the woman and transported her safely to Officer Santos's car, and he rushed the woman to the hospital. "Ma'am, you're going to be okay," he consoled her while she kept screaming in pain. "It will hardly take us 10 minutes. Please hang on." Officer Santos drove as fast as he could, and he arrived at the hospital in 10 minutes, which seemed nothing less than an eternity. After getting there, he quickly summoned an orderly and the woman was escorted to the emergency room. To make sure the woman was okay, he stayed at the hospital until the delivery was performed and called the station to let them know he'd be late for work. Throughout the delivery, Officer Santos didn't leave his position. He waited outside the ward, and finally a doctor came up to him and announced that the delivery had been successful. The woman had birthed a baby girl. "Both the woman and the child are safe. You'll be able to see them in a little while," the doctor added, smiling. Officer Santos visited the woman after she was transferred to the general ward, and he offered to contact her family on her behalf, but as soon as he mentioned it, she burst into tears. "Nobody's coming," she answered shakily. "I don't have any relatives because I'm an orphan and the baby's father abandoned me. He didn't want to be the father of the child, so he just left. You can leave now, officer. Thank you for your assistance in getting me here. I can do the rest by myself." Officer Santos was at a loss on what to do. Before leaving the hospital, he brought her some fruits and exchanged phone numbers so she could contact him if needed. But things turned out very differently and for the better. Officer Santos began visiting Carolyn every day at the hospital and looked after her until she was discharged. "You don't have to do this, officer," Carolyn said every time, and he smiled. "I'm just doing my job, protecting and serving citizens, ma'am." "Carolyn," she corrected him one day. "Please call me Carolyn." With time, neither Carolyn nor Officer Santos realized this, but they'd become really close to each other, and soon after, they were in love. Officer Santos loved spending time with little Janet, and he wanted to be by her and Carolyn's side forever. So one day, he did it. He mustered the courage, got down on his knees, and proposed to her. As cringy as it may sound, "I want to love and protect you and Janet until the end of my life. Will you marry me and be mine forever, Carolyn?" "No," replied Carolyn instantly, and Officer Santos's face fell. "No, but I thought we loved each other." Suddenly, Carolyn started laughing. "Oh my gosh, look at your face. It's of course a yes. But what if I said no for real?" she chuckled. "Jesus, you scared the hell out of me," he laughed as he placed the ring on her finger. Then he hugged her close and promised he'd be there forever for her, making Carolyn blush. "I love you. I couldn't have found a better partner," she told him. A month later, the adorable couple tied the knot, and as Officer Santos had promised Carolyn, he became a lovely husband and a much more loving father. He adores his family more than anything, and surprisingly, it all happened due to an unexpected, miraculous encounter.
If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone who may find it interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.